Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday weather outlook for the southern region brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, so much of our conversation over the last couple of weeks has been focusing in on this pattern that's going to get quite active here in the next several days. One of the consequences of the pattern that is coming is that it's kind of a wash, rinse, repeat of what we've seen honestly since going back to February. And that is one where we've seen these deeper troughs that have emerged across the western United States and lifted into these ridges over the southeast. And you can see the effect that this has had throughout much of our summer and the end of our summer here. We're looking at the last 30 days in terms of the percent of normal precipitation, and so much of the southern region, especially in the southeast and in the mid-south, has been exceptionally dry, with some locations there barely receiving any rain over the last month. We've seen a couple of things though. There's been a region right in through here that's had some active weather. That's going to continue to see more. We've had a couple of tropical systems in through here. This is Imelda, and over here, of course, Dorian coming up the coast. And then we've just recently brought in some very heavy rainfall to parts of Arizona and parts of New Mexico with the recent surge of moisture that has moved through that area. And the question that I'm trying to answer in this video is, have I seen this week, and do I see for the upcoming couple of weeks any sort of a change in this overall pattern? Well, to help us understand that, this is the latest drought monitor that was released yesterday afternoon. This is a good indicator of longer-term water stresses. So it's not a short-term indicator, it's a good longer-term indicator. What we see here is we've seen, well, it's best to look at this in terms of degradation or improvement. So let's just get a snapshot of this map and go right here. Over the last month, we have seen, pretty widespread degradation of drought across much of our southern region. You can see in the southeast, we've picked up in some cases a 3-class degradation. This is just north of Atlanta, just north of Jacksonville, Florida, and then parts of central Texas. So this is our problem. And again, I want to know, is anything changing in the near term? Well, though the last 72 hours has been the northern periphery of our southern region, so our last 3 days that have gotten the most heaviest rain. And we talked about this in our Thursday morning update, some of the big storms that moved through parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and southern Missouri. And we just keep seeing these fronts, okay? They keep coming down with each system, but they're having a hard time getting into the south, into the southeast. And as we look forward in this video, well, we're going to be certainly seeing a lot more rain following into this corridor over the coming next 5 to 10 days here. I'm only showing you out through the next 5, so this is through next Tuesday evening. And outside of some storms I'll show you in a few minutes that are going to come through parts of the Carolinas here in the next couple of days, much of our southern region is going to be quite dry. That is, with the exception of eastern New Mexico, getting through the panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas, and then into Kansas there. And we need to see why the pattern looks like this, understand when it's going to break down, and when we might see some precipitation in the southern region. Now, the thing about week 2, so you just saw week 1 precipitation. During week 2, there is a bit of a pattern shift that is noteworthy to talk about, although you can still see that quarter and through there showing up on the wetter side of things with this being drier. The notable pattern change will be getting rid of the deeper trough out west and the blocking ridge over the east, but it's going to take time as the pattern flattens out for us to get meaningful moisture back in the area. Now, it's important to balance the need of moisture with the harvesting of our crops. I'm specifically thinking about the corn and soybeans that are being harvested in this area, but also about the fact that, when we think about where we are with cotton and peanuts, also sweet potatoes, especially when we dig peanuts, we want them to sit in windrows and dry. We don't want any major precipitation. So this is kind of we're trying to balance out what we need with what we're going to get, and it's not the easiest picture to paint here. So let's at least look at some of the details. This is just stretching us out through the next 60 hours. So this will take us into Sunday here, and what we're watching is an animation of what the radar will look like through midday Sunday. And what do we notice? Well, getting us through early morning, much of the action's in the Corn Belt. Why these scattered storms? You can even see the flow. If I just kind of rock back and forth, you can see exactly the way the atmosphere is going to flow today. There is a larger ridge that is sitting off the northeast, and the flow around it's coming just like this. And that is the moisture return that we're looking for the storms that are coming into the Midwest today. But you can see as they go over parts of Georgia, North and South Carolina, there is the chance for some locally very heavy rain, as is across Florida, and then along the Gulf Coast. So this is pockets of heavy rain throughout the afternoon and evening this evening. As we progress into the overnight hours, you just see that front that moved through the Midwest doesn't move. It just stalls there. such that by Saturday we're lighting up storms on the same area again. As I rock back and forth, you can see the presence of the ridge. Can you see the clockwise flow down there across the southeast? That is the protective ridge that's in place, so we just don't get anything organized. No big low pressure systems, no fronts, nothing to bring in a 12, 24, 36-hour rainfall event, and certainly no tropical systems to be discussing either. If we play this out using our longer range GFS model here, let's just get you on out to that same time period. So look again, this is Friday afternoon, Friday evening. So we're watching this area right in through here for some widely scattered showers and storms, all the action on this boundary sitting right in through this corridor. If we keep playing this forward, you can really see the influence of that high pressure cell. I mean, can you just see everything going around it? So New Mexico, Texas, this part of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, we're going to get the majority of the rainfall through the next 5 days. What we notice here is that this pattern really doesn't break down too much, maybe until we get to the 3rd or 4th of the month. So you can see that by the 3rd or 4th, this is next Thursday, Friday. See that front finally making it down here? That front will be the one that finally breaks us away from the heat you're about to see here. This might bring wider spread rainfall by, I'm thinking, next Thursday timeframe, somewhere in and around next Thursday, finally bringing in our better chance for some rain. Comes through the mid-south first and then pushes over toward the southeast. But still, you notice it's not bringing big rain for the area. So that's kind of what we're looking at through the next 8 or 9 days. It's a drier pattern overall. And it's interesting, I told you earlier, we haven't been able to shake this since February. I made a composite map. This goes all the way back to February 1st, and it just looks at all of those days, stacks them up, adds them together, finds the anomalies. And this is what the flow of the jet stream has done since February. And that particular pattern featuring this broader ridge over the southeast is why we were able to develop drought throughout the year, very slowly, but we were able to do it. And it's been the one that's kept the midsection of the country so active, from New Mexico stretching through the panhandles, getting up into the Midwest. It's right in through here. This is the target region when you get a pattern like this. So when we think about what 2019 looked like after we're at the end of the year and we're reviewing it, learning our lessons, these will be the maps that I'm looking at. So is change coming? Well, certainly not in the near term. Look, I'll pause it right there and take you back. This is the highly amplified pattern that develops over the weekend. Big ridge over the southeast, deep trough over the west. But the good news is it's not blocked. We're moving it. See, we're getting those features to get out by the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And now each trough is sweeping across the United States. So look at this. By the time I get you past the 5th into the 6th and 7th, there's some advertisement of a bit of a pattern change. So you can kind of notice there's a trough that's now off the west coast, a ridge over the central and western United States, and a trough here sitting in the northeast. So the cooler weather, which is starting off in the northwest, is sweeping to the northeast, and that will be when we finally cool down. But it's going to be at the end of next week that we start talking about this overall pattern change cooling things down. And the good news is the model isn't advertising us going back into that pattern we were in, such that I think we're going to break away from this once we get into that, fully into the second week of October. But before we get there, take a look at the temperature differences from normal. These are your high temperature differences from normal. Some locations in the southern region here are between 10 and 20 degrees warmer than average to start off the day on Friday. So this is going to feel exactly like summer. As we press play here and kind of see how things evolve, this is getting into Saturday now. Now, first front tries to move through here, but it just doesn't. It doesn't get any farther than that. This is how it rebounds on Sunday. So again, look at this. In the mid-south, we're talking temperatures just scorching us like they do in summer. We will have some regions in here that over the next 10 days pick up nearly 400 Goring degree day units. I usually reserve numbers like that for July. We're going to pick up 400 GDUs in the next 10 days in this area. So look, this is now getting into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now here's the difference maker. Thursday, see the front finally broke through parts of Illinois, Missouri, and Indiana, and it's finally moving its way toward the south. So in the next 5 days, we got the heat on. See the map over there on the left? The heat is on. In days 6 through 10, we finally start to bring some relief coming as that front finally penetrates through. And as you saw, when the trough finally gets established over here, we might actually start to feel like, normal temperatures across the southern region. But we got to wait until we get out to that 11 to 15 day time period to get there. So that is what our near-term forecast looks like. The tropics, even though Lorenzo is a powerful Category 4 hurricane, not a threat to land. Karen is stuck. It's stalled. In fact, look over here. That is the forecast for Karen over the next several days. Karen is not going anywhere, and it's weakening rapidly. So it's going down from a tropical storm expected to become a tropical depression. Yeah, there still are a few squiggly model runs that want to take it over toward Florida, but at this point, we have such low confidence in something steering at that direction that it's best to just watch it over the weekend, and we'll probably see that it's sitting in the same place by the time I talk to you again next Monday. So this isn't really something to talk about. And are the tropics remaining active? Well, right now, about the only thing that I'm going to be watching is going to be something that's coming out of this region now, and such that by the time we get into the day 5 through 8 time period, the probability of a tropical depression forming in this area is okay. So this is, I'm talking way out into middle of next week. Now, what I'll watch from there is to see if the steering currents do bring this over towards Texas. There was some indication that should this tropical disturbance get going, it may be bringing moisture into this particular quarter. So let's just watch it over the weekend, see if there's any evolution of this, and I'll report back to you next week. All right. Hope you all have a great weekend. I'll talk to you again next week. Please make sure you check out all of our forecast content at my.nutrienagsolutions.com. Talk to you soon. Thank you.